And my headphones just die out. That's really weird. Well, I'm just gonna do a short stream. Oh, I guess their battery's out. Okay, I'm just gonna do a short stream anyway because I wanted to get right into this comment here, and I'm gonna give this like comment the full breadth of it. Right, like this is obviously in discussion about Thor v Hercules and who's the better hero. And this is the comment here, and this is Laser Wolf. Hercules has far greater feats of strength and skill. He lifted up the infinite cosmos for Atlas once. He nearly caught the golden deer of Artemis, right? Speed, the Hydra that he didn't kill. Meanwhile, Thor died from poison from the world serpent after a few steps. Not only that, but most of all Thor's strengths are enchanted, or come from his enchanted gloves and warhammer. That's actually not true. So I'm gonna get into why this is actually not true. Okay, I'm gonna get into this one right now, and I think this is a good argument right here. Now, here's the first thing that I'm gonna say about the Hercules versus Thor conversation. Right. First of all, Hercules is only a half god. It's at the end of his life, after his heroic stuff is done, that he actually becomes a full god. So the entire time, like, you're half god and you're half human, whereas Thor is 100% divine from the beginning. His father is Odin, right? And his mother is Gaia. So she's the earth goddess, essentially, right? So this is kind of where we start to get some distinction between these two. Now, when we talk about their feats, now the first thing we're going to talk about with Hercules, obviously, is going to be his 12 labors. And while there's some impressive feats in his 12 labors, let's not forget that there's some basic sanitation duties within them 12 labors. If we're going to talk about the 12 labors, if we're going to talk about you killing the lion, right? The Namibian lion, the Nemean lion, I think it is, who was a real threat to people. Like, he was terrorizing people. That's actually real heroic work, right? I'm gonna give you that mix. I'm gonna give you, like, you slayed the Hydra, which was another threat, right? So this was actually real world threats, right? Like, people were gonna, those things are heroic, right? But the other things are more like tasks. Like, I think you end up, like, what else did you do? I think you end up, like, I know you clean the stable. Like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm giving an honest assessment to what was really going on. Like, some of the stuff that they call you a hero for, I don't know if this stuff is really heroing, right? Like, again, okay, so, like, the lion, we get that. The Hydra, we get that, okay? Then you capture the Syrian hind, right? This is basically a task. This wasn't something that went out and helped anybody, right? Then you go out and you capture the boar. Yeah, I get it. You capture a boar. Everybody knows that's not easy, but this boar wasn't out here threatening anybody. This is technically not a heroic act. This is a task, a difficult task, but it's not a heroic act. So we're not going to elevate that to heroism, right? Then you have to go and clean the stables. And I'm like, okay, you cleaning stables. I wouldn't even ask Thor. Nobody would ask Thor to go clean the stables. If you ask Thor to clean your stables, you're going to get busted in the head by a magic hammer. So we're not dealing with the same level of beings. And I'm going to show you Thor is far more cosmic. Thor is far more of a cosmic entity than what Hercules is. You local, right? Then he does something with the bird. He drives away the Styphilian birds, right? Okay, they were dangerous, okay? You capture the Cretan bull, all right? Again, this is more of a feat. This bull wasn't doing anything to anybody. He wasn't a threat unless you were messing with the bull, right? You steal the mares of Diomedes. This is clearly not even a heroic act. This is theft. You were tasked with doing something, and because you did it, you call it heroic. This is not a hero act, right? Then, okay, you obtain Hippolyta's girdle, right? Okay, which is widely viewed as, like, very contentious. Again, not a heroic act. You steal the cattle of Guyon, right? Which is impressive, but is this a heroic act? Mad debatable at this time, right? You get the apples of Hesperides. Okay, again, this is not an act of heroism, okay? It's not a heroic act. And your last one is you capture Cerberus, right? Which is extraordinary, right? Very difficult, but also not heroic. So if I go through this list of 12 labors, I can count like 1, 2, 3, if I'm being generous. There's 3 acts on here that are actually, you have 12, and see, this is what you guys do with Hercules. This is what you guys do with Hercules. With all respect, I love you guys, and I do love Hercules in Greek mythology. Don't get it twisted, okay? But you guys are taking all these 12 labors. That's why they call them the 12 labors. They didn't call them the 12 heroic acts because they're not all heroic acts. Out of those 12 things, which some of them are very impressive, some of them you're flat out stealing from people, right? Right? Some of them you're flat out stealing. Like, I'm gonna go steal these apples. That makes me a hero. So out of these 12 tasks that are listed here, 3 of them are heroic, right? Clearly. The rest, it's highly contentious. Maybe not even an argument for a lot of them, okay? And this is the problem. Like, when we lay out Thor, we give you Thor's full resume, man. He fought the world serpent. Yes, he died, okay? But think about the stuff he did, okay? The world serpent was a cosmic level threat. He was ending existence. That's very different than I'm dealing with a lion who's like causing terror over in this community. Those are very different things. Those are not on the same level, okay? They're not. When we talk about Thor's act, they tricked him where he was drinking. He thought he was drinking some mead, and he was actually drinking from the ocean. He drank so much that it actually lowered the sea level. This is what he did, okay? Then when you're talking about he lit, now, okay, another thing that you said specifically was talking about where Thor's strength come from. And you were like, yeah, most of his strength comes from his weapons. That's not true. Baseline Thor was still the most powerful being that existed. I think he had a brother that might have been stronger than him, but that's it. You were already lifted up cosmic level beings without any gloves or any armor. So, and even like, if you don't have exceptional strength, you can't even pick up the weapons that he has. So there's a lot to that where it's like, if Thor wasn't just like, yeah, I got all these weapons, he did have all these weapons, because he was like most warriors, you got weapons, right? Like that's how they are. And Thor was pure, true warrior, okay? And then when I'm looking at Hercules, man, like here's the thing. We can tell you every bad thing about Thor, right? Thor's a little bit impulsive, quick to anger, probably drank too much, right? We can name all the bad Thor attributes out there. And if we lay out the resume, let's lay out the full resume. Because the part of Hercules' resume that you guys don't want to lay out is that he killed his wife and his children. That's a part that you don't want to put in the mix, right? That's a part that you tend to kind of stay away from, because obviously it looks really bad on your hero status that, yeah, we start, and like, if we judge in most people, if you have a murder on your record, if you have a murder, you murdered somebody, I'm going to talk about that first. If you murder your wife and children, I'm probably going to talk about that first, not last, or even not leave out. So it's kind of suspicious that we're not talking about a major component of who Hercules was. We talk about him cleaning up stables, but we're not going to mention that he killed his wife and his children, right? That actually did happen. And those weren't the only innocent people in mythology that he's said to have killed. He has many people, including companions and guests, that he killed in a fit of rage or just basic misunderstanding. He often used violence in excess. Like, these are his classic stories. So this was the idea. And the whole thing about the 12 labors, you were made to do that stuff, right? This is the reason you had to do the 12 labors is to try to redeem yourself, because you killed your wife and family, right? Like, there's a lot going on there that is not necessarily heroic acts. And I'm simply saying that, like, if we look at who Thor was, he was always, working at a cosmic level. You were defending Midgard and Earth the entire time. You weren't going and fighting a lion. Yeah, I know that lion was tough. I know you're fighting that lion. It was tough, okay? But that wasn't going to get all of us. Thor was dealing with things that were gonna affect all of us on a cosmic level, right? And here's the thing, man. Like, here's the thing. As we get deeper and deeper and deeper into like comparing these two, like the feats, like I do agree that Hercules was himself is a great feat, right? But your primary roles were really, really different. Like, your legacies are vastly different. Like, Thor died at the end of existence. He didn't just lose a fight. This was the prophesized and fated end of the world, right? And he fought against that. Remember, Thor wrestled with old age. He didn't win, but he wrestled old age to the point people are like, man, this dude's kind of wrestling old age. Hercules didn't do those things. So while I'm not diminishing Hercules, I'm simply pointing out that he was half human, so he was not a divine being. One of your biggest feats, which was holding up the world, sounds very impressive. holding up the world because Atlas had, he gave Atlas a break, right? Which tells me that Atlas was already holding up to it. Like, I get it. It's an impressive feat, but there's a guy who was doing it already full time. You held it up for like a couple of minutes, and then you tricked him by saying, hold on, let me get a better grip on this so I can hold it up, right? You tricked this dumbass into going back in there. Bad on you, Atlas. I don't even know how you felt for that player. But the whole thing about it is you did something for a very brief period of time that Atlas was just doing every day. So holding up the world all of a sudden doesn't become such a great feat when you're like, yeah, Atlas is actually still doing it right now. Atlas was doing it back then, and technically I would assume Atlas is still holding up the world right now. So, again, I'm not coming down to you. I'm simply saying, like, one dude is a cosmic level being, right? Everything about him is cosmic level. You're fighting against Ragnarok, and you can't. Like, remember, they find out that you can't stop Ragnarok. He still goes forward. He knows when you like take the Midgardian snake, you're like, well, he got killed by the snake. He knew he was going to die by the snake, which is the most heroic thing. He's like, I'm going to die, but I got to get this mission done. I got to get this done at all costs, no matter what. I got to get this done. So while you kind of took that as like his weakest point, but you didn't leave out Hercules' weakest. You didn't include Hercules' weakest point, which is I killed my wife and children. So like if I got to look at you as a hero, it don't even really get dicey as far as like who's a hero. One guy was great at doing some sanitation work. One guy took heroin on full time from day one and never backed off of it and rode it till the wheels came off. Okay. One guy fought against the cosmic snake. One guy was like hearing, no, daddy, don't, right? That was the last words of his children and his wife. No, daddy, don't. And you still went forward with him, right? So I don't know with that on his resume if I would call that necessarily a hero. I think it's a great debate, and I'm glad we're talking about it. But if I got to pick someone who's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to come down here and protect the world all the time, I'm going to just have Thor's mead ready and stay up out of Thor's way. Hercules, I got to be more careful because he might lose and actually kill me. I'm not worried about Thor killing an innocent person. We don't have any stories of Thor killing an innocent person. We have several of Hercules killing innocent people, including women and children. So the axe of feet, local DJ versus cosmic level DJ, that's what I'm going Thor full time on that one all the way. And then just like when we get into the morals and the stuff, like one dude's glorified like taskmaster. Like you get tasks done, like, man, I really need someone like, take my book from written form and type it all in. I give that to Hercules because you are task oriented. You will get those stables clean. And how you guys compare the stable cleaning guy to the hero guy, at this point, I don't know. But great conversation, and thanks for stopping in. And we'll go back and forth on this a little bit more. You guys let me know what you think in the comments.